Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of bringing to you the name of a person who stinks. That particular gentleman is a person by the name of Gunnar Anderson, and he has proven to me that he stinks on Facebook. So, I happen to have written here in a Facebook post on Bernie Sanders' page, and I quote, "Somewhere there is a child hungry, or a man putting his dog down because he can't afford him. Somewhere there is a man sleeping in rags he has worn for weeks. Somewhere a woman is selling her body to support her children. To good folks, this is intolerable. To Donald Trump, this is business." Mr. Anderson, in addition to posting an ad for an air conditioning business, replied, "Why would a poor person have a dog if they can't excuse me, why would a poor person have a dog in the first place if they can't afford one? Why," second response, two separate responses. "Why would a woman have children if she can't support them?" Mr. Anderson, you stink. Now, I say that knowing that Gunnar Anderson is probably not a real person. His Facebook portfolio picture was a dog. And I looked at his profile and he had 2 friends. So maybe he just stinks so badly that people stay away from him. But maybe, and just maybe, he's a fake person put up by either the conservative camp or Russians to make this country look bad. So I have given a response to Mr. Anderson, and I would like to read it for you. Here I am responding. I quote, "Gunnar Anderson, 1. If you expect half the American population to stop owning dogs because they are too expensive, then then we would need to kill millions of dogs. 2. Poor people have as much right to reproduce as anyone else, and you have no right to punish the children. 3. The average American includes people who have billions to spare, so the average American includes people who have billions to spare, so averages are irrelevant in such a context. Take your people choose to be poor BS to someone who will be foolish enough to believe it." I believe there's more than one response by Mr. Anderson, but I have unfortunately not. He made a comment, I believe he took it down, about how much money poor people spend on beer every year. So, don't know where he pulled that statistic out of, but Gunnar Anderson is a terrible human being. Now, I actually have another human being who stinks commented, and I would like to read you this as well. This man is a one Ben Lee, who, incidentally, I did check out his Facebook page, and he opposes burning the American flag in protest. Now, I have as much respect for the flag as the next person, but let's just try to remember, freedom of speech is what that flag stands for. The right to burn it is unfortunately part of that freedom. So if we prohibit someone from burning our flag in protest, we are essentially committing treason against our own country. But Mr. Lee has written to me, "Hey, Richard, Leland, Neal. I think Gunnar Anderson is just saying make better decisions from the beginning is all. It's irresponsible if you can't buy food to feed pet or child to have them." Bad grammar, don't you think? Well, Mr. Lee, are you pro-abortion? Because that's the first question. You know, I can tell you my sister has a kid and she didn't want a kid, but once she conceived, she said, you know what, it's a living thing and I don't want to kill it. Okay? Now I support a woman's right to choose, but I have to admit that it is horrible that any woman should have to choose between feeding a child and putting it to death. And Mr. Lee, may I inform you that I have actually seen a woman give her child up to child services because she could not afford to take care of that child. And I will tell you this much, her screams will haunt my nightmares until the day I die. And I will tell you another thing, Mr. Lee. A blind man lives on my street. He came home one night with a large dog following him. This dog had no microchip, was in very poor health, and was clearly too old to be adopted. Because this animal seemed so miserable, I took it in, and I kept this animal for, I believe, 8 months before it passed away. I believe it was actually poisoned by one of my neighbors. Are you telling me that rather than showing mercy and decency and taking care of this elderly and wounded animal, I should have had it put to sleep? I should have had it destroyed. Because if you're saying that, Mr. Lee, you are a cruel individual. You do not represent the American ideal. You are a dark stain on this country, and I fully believe that we should wash you out. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an edition of People Who Stink. I'm sure you will agree with me, if you are decent human beings, that these people stink. I'm Richard Leland Neal.